special topic called scope resolution operator, or how do you define the functions outside the class, member functions and member variables outside a class. Let's say we have a class called student, and where we have let's say there is a public section in which we have a constructor called student, and we used to write the programs here, and if there is another constructor with argument, let's say student integer n or something, and we used to write all the programs like this one by one. So all these areas will take up a lot of space writing the program then and there here itself. Instead, we can do one thing. We can simply define the function. You can simply give a declaration here saying that student, there is a declaration like this, and you can also give a declaration here like this, and this says that this function is written elsewhere, outside. Go and look for outside somewhere. How do you write this? Instead of writing here, the same effect is there, so you can use something called scope resolution operator. What is scope resolution operator? As you can look at the screen, see there is a student constructor and constructor with arguments, and there is another function called display all, another function called static function, which is static function. Now you see, you are declared here. After that function is written outside, so you have to use so-called scope resolution operator. That means student double colon, that's a class name, you are writing here student. So it is like student double colon, then you say the student. That means whatever you are writing here, that is outside the class. The code looks very small here for this area, and you can go on defining the function here. Similarly, this function can also be written like a here in integer, something like that, integer n, and then you can go and write this part also here, like instead of, so you can write this function here. So the function can be written outside. So what you have to do, the class name scope resolution operator colon colon, then you go on defining the functions. And also I will show you, if there is a function like display all, this is a function, how do you define outside? So what you have to do is similar way, you can display all can be written here like this, student, so display all. Similarly, if there is let's also consider there is another function, static function is there. Static function can be, I showed you static function can be accessed from anywhere, so you can write the function here, see something like that. Again, the class name scope resolution static function. Now suppose there is a general purpose function which is nothing to do with the class, that can also be written in the global area. See, this is nothing to do with the class, there is a separate function. Now how do you access all these things? Now to access this, you know that you have a student, and if you have a student class like this, then in order to access, you already know it. Actually it is like you can suppose there is a public section, there is a public section in this, in which let's say you have whatever, actually let's say integer marks was there. Then in the integer main, what you would have done, you would have created an object of this student, let's say a, and suppose there was a constructor with the name of the person, student, and age or something like that. You could have passed like this, and and like there was a marks here, so I could simply say a dot marks is equal to 50 or something. Now how do you access this? Usually by a dot marks you can simply access. There is another way of accessing also, so that we are using pointers. So how do you do that? We will see that. For example, now I have defined now so-called if there is a function called let's say display all. So what you do is you create a pointer by using the new operator, and after that you assign the object address to the function pointer, and after that using arrow mark you can call that function display all. That means you are basically calling the display all function which was written here. This function is being called. Now that means you can call that function. And also suppose you have the marks already here, there is a symbol variable, so that also you can access through the pointer marks. Function pointer which is corresponding to a, which is address is already assigned, and arrow mark marks. Similarly, suppose there is a function called hello which was there, remember. So we had written a function called symbol hello. It is nothing to do with class, this is symbol function, and the address of this function is hello, that's all. And now how do you access that? You can create void. You are saying that I am creating a function pointer. This is what you are saying, hello function pointer, and hello function pointer has been assigned with the address, this hello. After that you can call that using star hello function pointer this. When you do this, what will get executed? The hello function will get executed. This function will get executed. So the address is passed to a function pointer. So this is another way of creating, executing a function like this. And this function, you remember, nothing to do with a class. Now if there is a member function inside the class also, similar way, instead of this you can even say student double colon, that is co-resolution operator. This means that function of that class is being assigned, and you can call a dot that function through this method also. You can assign the address, display all. The first part of this function name is a pointer address. Same way, if you have simply marks is nothing but a public variable, so you can assign the address of that to this marks pointer, and you can ask a dot marks pointer, you can access that global variable also. So now, as we said, if you can call a member function using a member function pointer, which we already discussed, through this pointer. Now this was a simplest way of calling a static function. You remember in one of the videos I have said this, simply student is the class name colon this co-resolution operator static function. That means this function which is statically defined. This is the function which is defined, which is function is outside, we have defined outside the class, because we first declared it actually. Remember, we declared it at the top. See this. That means look for this function elsewhere outside the class. So it went and looked for that. It was written here, and you call that using this particular method. So if you execute this program, you can see that whatever you have said will be executed. So here it says there is an error, so we can try to debug this actually. So it said in one of the lines there is an error. So let us see where the error is coming from. Okay, so what I am going to do is there is a compiler problem also. So what I can do is this virtual program I am going to cut and paste into a new source file untitled 2 and try to execute this. So this is some computer issue. So let us see. So I am untitled 2 and I am saving it. Let us see whether it is able to execute. So C is able to execute. That means it is issue related to the compiler. So whatever I asked, it is given now. You can see that in the screen. You can see everything, like all the details of the A.Mars, B.Mars, Joby Mars, everything has come through the first call, that is like a display all. See that function pointer display all. And the second line is coming through a function pointer, see hello, something like that. So this is the way you access the declared member functions and member variables outside the class and call it through different methods of pointers. Thank you.